morning, everybody. It's my pleasure this morning to bring in a wonderful person to share some time with us. And so I would love to invite Vickie Gould to join me. Let me set this up, everybody. It won't be very long. So I'm going to get Vickie in to join us. Vickie. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. There we are. It shan't be very long. There we are. Beautiful. So Vickie is going to start our conversation in a moment. All right. It shouldn't take too long. We're almost there. Beautiful. Now I can see you. Fantastic. How are you, Vickie?
Good. How are you? I actually had my phone set up to be landscape instead of portrait. So now I gotta rearrange. All right, I think that's good. My stand, I don't want it to fall down.
No worries. So welcome to the conversation. It's a pleasure to be connecting with you.
Yes, you too. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, my pleasure. I'm always keen to meet some of the members of the group, and I had a look at everything that you do, and I thought that would actually be quite interesting for the members of the community. I'm a coach.
Yeah, I'm so excited to share.
Fantastic. So could you start by telling me, how did you actually become a business and book coach, or a law of attraction business and book coach?
Well, what happened was I went through a pretty severe illness with Lyme disease. So back in 2009, I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. And that led me through a lot of trials and struggles, very deep emotional things. And I had many times contemplating just ending it completely. And during that time, it was just, I spent so many days in bed. I was spending 16 to 18 hours in bed. And I was watching my children grow up from the side of my bed and feeling like, that worthless mom, the wife that couldn't do anything. I went from superwoman to needing somebody to take care of me, not being able to even finish cooking dinner for my family. And I remember my son would look at me and he'd be like, "Mom, can you please come to my school party?" He'd crawl in bed and snuggle with me. And I just look at him like, I'm really not up to it. And it made me so sad to have to tell him no. And I just wondered all that time, is he going to know? Are my kids going to know? Because I have 3 kids. Are they going to know how much I really love them, that I really wanted to take care of them, that I just couldn't do it, and how much it hurt me to tell them no? And I spent so many nights just crying in bed or on the bathroom floor. And it was a time where I wanted it to end, but I really didn't want my life to end. You know what I mean? I had hopes and dreams, and I had things I wanted to do. And it just, the idea of not ever meeting my grandchildren and not watching my kids grow up spurned me to decide to go try to figure something out. So even though the doctor said, "You need to act like you're 80 years old and your body's 80," and I wasn't even 40 at that time. Now I'm 47, but back then I wasn't even 40. And I thought, is he talking to me? Does he really mean me? Like, is life really just gonna be like this, a long drawn out death of 40, 50 years? So I decided that my future grandchildren I'd never met before, that I wanted to play with on the floor, that my kids growing up, that I wanted to be there for all these things, that they mattered to me. And I embarked on trying to find something that would work for me. And during that time, I became a master herbalist. I was a wellness coach at one time, and using herbs, alternative modalities, that's how I got myself better. And through that, and sharing my story so many times about that journey, I realized how important story was for people, how important it is for businesses. And I know that there are so many other people out there who have really dug down into their perseverance, their tenacity, their superhero-ness to get out of
Yeah.
things, whether it is illness or something else, right?
Yeah.
And those people really need to share their stories and have their voices
So
heard and share the message.
tell me, tell me, if I'm an entrepreneur, how can I use my story to bring that into my business? Or how would I, um, like, exactly how do I use the story?
Yeah. So that's what happened with me is I started sharing my story. I wrote my first book. People were like, hey, how did you do that? How did you do this? So I merged and changed into doing story marketing for people. And then from that became this book coach because people were like, I want you to help me with my book. I'm like, no, I don't do that. And you know how sometimes things find you? It kind of
Yes.
found me through this art of storytelling that I was helping people with. And the thing about story is your why in what you do. People buy your why. And you don't want to compete on a transactional basis. Let's, as much as we all believe we're unique, and we are, we also have things in our businesses that are a commodity that everybody else does. How do you
Yeah.
differentiate yourself? How do you have somebody pick you over someone else? How do you get away from competing because of price? You do that by sharing your story and creating deep connections and having relationships with people. Because when you share your story and share it from that vulnerable place, that speed of trust, it's just compressed. The length of time that you need to talk to somebody or know somebody is
Mm-hmm.
shortened because you've
Yes.
shared that story. And
Yes.
then we all buy from people we know, like, and trust. This is how
Yeah.
you do it. The story. You tell that story well, you increase that speed of trust.
And
And then,
as I was reading about you, and I visited your website and everything, I found
uh,
out that you're a bestseller author.
yes, I am. The eighth best-selling book came out this week. It was a Lime anthology. I have no idea. I probably need to update that. I don't know if it says 4 or 5, but it's 8 now.
Nice. It said 6, but I'm happy to know that you've published 2 more since then.
Yeah, one came out in February, and then another one this month is Lyme Awareness Month. So, because of my chronic Lyme disease, I put an
Yeah.
anthology together for that. And then my 84th author became a bestseller the day after. So yesterday was my 84th author that became a bestseller.
Oh, you definitely need to update that because on your site, I reckon it's only 52. So you've gone way beyond that since then. That's amazing. And so,
Yeah.
how how is what's the impact? What impact has it had for you to become a bestseller author?
Yeah, it was one of those things that I always, you dream of, right? And I had dreamt about this from when I was little because I had read the whole entire library when I was young. They had no more
Yeah.
books. I read the whole entire library. I was like, I'm going to write a book one day. I just didn't know what it was about. So it was a lot for me personally, but then
Yeah.
professionally, it increases your credibility, increases your authority, your expert status. When you say you're an author, people are like, oh, wow, and then when you say you're a best-selling author, you just automatically get elevated right away.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
part of that is because 82% of the population wants to write a book, but actually less than half of a percent. Well, no, sorry. It's 0.06, so a little more than half of a percent actually hit publish on their book. And there are people with books on their computers that they never put out. So I think with all those
Yeah.
statistics and people wanting to write books, when they hear that you've done it, they're like, oh, because I want to do that too. It's just another level of that expertise that people just automatically see you in a different way. And my clients have said the same things that they.
Yeah. It makes sense. I reckon
Mhm.
in this day and age, as we're all trying to, like, there's 1.5 million coaches on LinkedIn. So if we want
Mhm.
to try and stand out, I reckon
Yeah.
so far the 2 tips you've given us, which is to connect with our story to attract our own unique audience, and then
Mhm.
use the book as a platform to
Right.
elevate
Right.
our
And
profile. Yeah, it makes
So,
sense.
so many people also want to be speakers.
Yeah.
And these days, conference coordinators and event planners are looking at people who have books. It's an easy
Yeah.
way for them to look through their stack of papers and say, okay, this one doesn't have a book, this one does, this one has a book, but this one's a best-selling author. You know, it's an easy way for them to filter. It just kind of makes it a no-brainer for them. So if somebody wants to
Mm,
be a speaker, which a lot of coaches do, um,
yeah.
they really need to have a book so that they can stand out.
It makes sense. And I read somewhere, or you may have said that in one of your videos, that the most impactful book that we'll ever read or is
Yes.
the one that
Yep.
we'll write.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And so what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, you know, it's been so wonderful for me to watch other people write their story and dig into their story. And when they're done, even in the anthologies that I've put together, where they're only putting together a chapter, right? It's not a whole entire book. They come back to me with, oh my gosh, like I'm so impressed with myself. I so love myself more. I can't believe I did all that. You know, like after they actually go through the whole process of
Yes.
writing it, getting to those vulnerable spots, because that is the important part of your story, is that vulnerable hole
Mm.
that you sat in and that depths of darkness and the emotions. When they go there again and they see how they got out of it and how they've triumphed over those things, it's just it's almost like they amp it up 10 times because they're like, wow, I really believe in myself a lot more now.
You've just made me realize what kind of book I could write. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, what is
Yeah.
it?
Well, I'm not ready to share everything, but I've just come back from going for a walk. I do that every Friday morning with a friend of mine who is a wonderful coach. And I discovered a word today, which is the word boundaries. And not that it's a brand new word in my vocabulary, but it's something new in my life that I have to bring more of.
Yeah.
And it just connected and linked with a whole bunch of other things that, yeah, I'm going to give this a bit more thought, but you've inspired me to start thinking about that. So thank you. That was a great
Yeah.
light bulb moment. Tell
Yeah.
me, you've how have you used your books? Did you push your books and to get in the media, to get further interviews? How do you use your books?
Yeah, I leverage it as much as I can. I am totally not into Amazon royalties. I mean, if you sell your book, let's say on launch day, you sell your book at 99 cents, you're only getting 35 cents. I'm not into 35 cents. So the whole purpose of writing the book is to convert those readers into clients, you know, the books that I
Mhm.
help people with. So
Yeah,
we put seeding inside the book, we put marketing elements inside the book so that that can happen along the way, and not in a salesy or icky or, you know, yucky kind of way, but in
yeah,
a way that flows with your story and all the other tips that you're giving. You know, I've already mentioned leveraging a book for speaking gigs. I do that. It's on my speaker one sheet. I
yeah,
talk about it. It's on my website. You know, all of that
yeah,
stuff is there,
yeah,
and you can leverage it for other media opportunities. You want to put it in your author bio and your media one sheet. I do
mm,
press releases for my clients as well.
yeah,
So after they become bestsellers, we put out a press release so they can get seen on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. So there are a
yeah,
lot of things that we do as coaches. I think there's sometimes a confusion about which pieces and what things you do that are going to gain you followers and which
yeah,
pieces that you do that gain you credibility.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know, when you get a press release done, it's more for credibility. When you get on a magazine like Forbes or Entrepreneur, it's more for credibility. But if you get on podcasts and leverage your book and your expertise that way, then that can help grow your list. If you use
mm,
your book as a springboard to, I don't know, the way that you can get my hit published book, for instance, it's 40% off the Amazon price. It comes with a course, comes with a bonus extra book, like all these other things. Then
yeah,
you leverage that to get more people on your list. So there's book funnels. You can do free chapters. You can do free intros. You can, like, however you want to be creative about it, you know, offering your book as
yeah,
a funnel to grow that list and then get people into your world to nurture them more. I mean, it really works.
It's
And
endless.
and the
Yeah.
cool part is I will
Yeah.
pluck quotes out of my book. Actually, my VA did this for me. I shouldn't claim this, but my
Ah!
VA did it for me. My VA read two of my books and she plucked out quotes from it so that she could make graphics, pretty graphics for me that had my quotes in there. That's another way that you leverage your book, and I always say to people, after you're done writing your book, you should never be at a loss for content, whether it's writing blogs or guest posts or media features, anything social media, videos. If you're at a day where you're kind of like, oh, what should I talk about? Just open your book to a page and
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah, that
You
makes perfect sense. In
yeah.
one of the exercises that some of my clients do, they have to prepare for a whole year of content for their Facebook groups that they're running,
Yeah.
and so it makes perfect sense that if someone was to put together a book, then they could refer back into their book to extract some beautiful content. So that's a
Mhm.
great idea, great way of using it. I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you a question that, is a bit out there.
Okay.
Some people are very adamant that there's more value in a book that has been published by a traditional publishing house, and
Uh-huh.
some people see a lot of value in just getting it done, getting it out there, and publish as a self-published author. Is there a difference for the purpose that you have been discussing in terms of credibility and in terms of including that in your commercial offer? Do you see a difference?
Um, I don't see a difference in some ways, and I do see it in others. So this is a really great question because people ask it all the time about publishers and this and that. Long
Yeah,
ago, I say long ago, but before the advent of Amazon making self-publishing being so easy,
yeah,
it took a lot to get a publisher, and then you depended on that publisher to do marketing for you and help you
yeah.
with that. These days, publishers, when you pitch a publisher, they want to know how many followers you have, how
They
your
do.
community is. They want to
Yeah,
know how many books you think they're going to sell because they are not in the business of marketing your book. So
that's true.
the
It's been
of
my
how,
experience. We caught up last year, my ex-business partner and I, we had a meeting with Hay House Australia, and the conversation when we spoke about
yeah,
selling the book was around how many people can you reach? Like, how many books do you
yep.
believe you can sell if we publish you? Like, if once you've written, your manuscript and you submit it and we like it, blah blah. If we decide to publish you, how many people can you sell that to? And so you're absolutely right in terms of that's exactly what publishers say. It's my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's a misconception out there that if I get a publisher, I can sit back and do nothing. So
Mm.
the difference between the two, it's kind of like, okay, then with a publisher, and I've heard anywhere between 6 months to 2 years sometimes to get your book out. And quite
Yes.
honestly, I don't have that long to wait because I want clients before 6 months or 2 years. So it really
Yeah.
depends on what your book is about, what the purpose of the book is about. If it's novel, if it's your memoirs, if it's poetry, it has a different purpose. But the
Absolutely.
books I people write are supposed to help grow their following, convert readers to clients. So in
Mm.
that respect, I don't want to have to wait. So being able to self-publish is a huge perk because technically I could write a book today and I could publish it on Amazon. That being said, because it's so easy to get on Amazon, there's a lot of junk books out there. You know, I've seen
I
ones that
hear
are
you.
censored. I've heard stories about people taking pictures of their foot and putting it in a book just to see what would happen. Like, there's so many crazy things that happen. Um, but the benefits, I think, of being self-published totally outweigh waiting for a publisher. Now, if getting a certain publisher is like this accomplishment bucket list type of thing for you, then
Yeah.
sure, you might want to go for that. But if the purpose is I want to grow my business, I want to get in front of more people, I want to share my story and my message more impactfully, get it around the world, then being self-published makes it so much faster.
Yeah.
Plus,
I've
you
also
can do
heard the
whatever you want.
stories. But yeah, I've also heard the stories of people who self-publish and then they keep banging on doors, and eventually a publisher picks it up because
Yeah,
it's right. Yeah.
it's totally
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So if,
and
as you say, if it's a bucket list thing, then yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. I don't make anybody wrong for what they want. But the cool thing is, you can self publish. You can prove that you can sell hundreds or thousands or whatever, how many copies it is, and then try to go to a
2000,
publisher.
2000 makes them happy as a starting.
Well, if you want to be on the New York Times bestseller, it's 75,000. So, yeah, that's more than your friends and family, unless I don't know, you come from a family of 50,000. But
Oh, that's too good. Sorry, I need to drink water. Well,
yeah,
you know what, Vicky, I would love to continue chatting, but I'm mindful of your time. We did say we'd spend 15 minutes together. We've been together for 20, so you've been extremely generous. I wanted to know if people want to reach out to you and they might be interested in knowing more about what it is that you do and how they could work with you. Is there a
mhm.
link or a website that you would want them to have a look?
Sure. My website is at www.vickiegould.com. And so I spell everything spelled funny. VICKIEGOULD.com. And if you
Yeah,
also want to go to member.vickiegould.com, I have a free section in there that's like free coaching and trainings and things that I've done that you can just sign up and get a free account for.
brilliant. All right, so once we finish the live, I'll type that in the post so people can have access to the links just by
Awesome.
clicking directly. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm sure we'll do this again. Look, having a book makes perfect sense for most coaches I've worked with. And so I would definitely encourage people to look into your services and to see if it could work for them or how it could work for them. It's definitely
Yeah.
something that makes sense to me. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me on. It's been fun.
It's been a pleasure. All right. Well, you have a beautiful night where you are in the US.
You?
We're here in Melbourne. We're starting our day.
Yeah, it's Thursday. I'm getting ready to put my PJs on now.
Ah, lucky. All right. Well, you
All
have a
right.
lovely evening. We'll see you
You
soon.
too. Okay, talk to you
Bye
later.
bye. Bye bye.